Gentlemen, welcome to the June 14th, 2021 County Commission meeting. I'm going to call on Chief Deputy John Smith to call our meeting to order. Our pledge will be led by Commissioner James Lewis and our invocation by our chaplain and Commissioner Joe Creek.
All rise. Oh, yes, or yes, this honorable board of county commission now stands in session pursuant to adjournment. May God save your state and this honorable board of county commissioners.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we thank you for your love and your watch care. We thank you for how you've blessed us in so many ways with leadership and finances and etc. We appreciate all that you've done for us. Now just lead, guide, and direct us on our endeavors. It says in Colossians 3:17 that whatsoever you do in the world, in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord thus and his Son, giving thanks to God and the Father above. Thank you again, Lord, for all you've done for us. Now just lead, guide, and direct us as we take decisions tonight that's going to affect things further down the road. Just guide and direct us. For in Christ's name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the roll?
You have 18 present.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a proclamation to present tonight, and unfortunately, our recipient could not be here. She's a little under the weather, so Mr. Kurt Bryant is going to accept this proclamation. Kurt, come on up. On behalf of Miss Eleanor Williams. How you doing tonight, man? Good to see you. Whereas today we take the opportunity to wish a very, very happy 90th birthday to our friend and Montgomery County historian, Miss Eleanor S. Williams. And whereas Eleanor Ruth Shepard was born on May 23rd, 1931 to the late James Edward Shepard and Lima Taylor Shepard. Miss Eleanor was married to the late James Warren Williams for 62 years, and they have 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. And whereas Miss Eleanor attended 1st through 8th grades at Howe School, graduated from Clarksville High School in 1949, and attended Austin Peay State University, majoring in history. Miss Eleanor has been a member of First Baptist Church since the 1960s. And whereas after serving as interim county historian for Miss Beach, Miss Eleanor was named as a Montgomery County historian in 1993 and still serves Montgomery County today as historian. And whereas Miss Eleanor has served on numerous boards and commissions, Customs House Museum, Public Records, Civil War Sesquicentennial, Historic Preservation, just to name a few. She was past president of the Montgomery County Historical Society and has been a member since the 1960s. Miss Eleanor is a member of the Friends of the Library, Middle Tennessee Genealogical Society, Tennessee Writers Alliance, and past regent of the local chapter of the DAR. And whereas Miss Eleanor has been active in increasing knowledge about our local history through authoring or co-authoring 6 books, she has presented many programs and dramatizations about Montgomery County's heritage. And whereas Miss Eleanor has gathered historic photos for various county offices, composed information for driving and walking tours of Clarksville, Montgomery County, written numerous articles, spoken to innumerable community groups, and provided information to countless individual citizens. And whereas Miss Eleanor received the Arts and Heritage Development Council's 2011 Lifetime Achievement in Heritage Award, her knowledge about Montgomery County's history is supreme, and we thank her for her service as Montgomery County historian. Now, therefore, I, Jim Durrett, Mayor, Montgomery County, Tennessee, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and the citizens of this great community do hereby celebrate the life, the love, and the wisdom of a very special 90-year-old friend. Happy 90th birthday, Miss Eleanor. We wish you good health and much happiness. Kurt, thank you for coming and accepting that on Miss Eleanor's behalf.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, our first item of business is CZ 9-2021, application of Todd Morris from R1 to R4. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Gannon, is there a second? Commissioner Bryant, any discussion on CZ 9-2021? Seeing none, if you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? I think so. I'm sorry. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 16 yeses, 2 nos, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. CZ 11-2021, application of Jeff Shepard from R1 to C2. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Commissioner Riccone, any discussion on CZ 11-2021? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 13 yeses, 5 nos, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. CZ 12-2021, application of Jason Wynn from AG to R1. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Ray, second. Commissioner Lewis, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. CZ 13-2021, application of Jane Walker from AG to R1. Commissioners, before I ask for a motion on this, Mr. Harvey has advised me that he has a conflict in this matter. So if you ask a question tonight regarding any process that we may go through to Mr. Harvey, he is not going to answer that question. He has recommended deferral and that this body seek legal counsel that does not have a conflict, and so that would be my recommendation to you. Commissioner, I will entertain a motion.
I'm actually going to be making the motion to defer for a month after talking with the Walkers and everything that was discussed last Monday night. They have agreed to survey off the portion of property that they want to develop and keep it separate from the portion they plan to keep as a homestead. So I'd like to defer this to the July 12th meeting, which is our formal meeting.
Okay. Is there a second? Commissioner Harper, second. Any discussion on the deferral? Commissioner Beal.
Thank you. Does deferring this actually change the substance of the...
Does nothing but puts it off till our next meeting.
Right. So if we want to vote no tonight, we would vote against the deferral, right? And then just vote no tonight.
If that's what you choose to do. Commissioner Smith?
I do feel that could be done, but I also believe that the Walkers have kind of extended a branch here to hopefully get this back in front of the RPC as an amended type of zoning request to come back to us. So that's the only reason that I've brought it forth as a motion to defer.
Commissioner Riccone?
Just a point, Mayor. Do we have to have a motion for approval in a second and then a motion for deferral? Or can we do straight deferral?
I'm comfortable with a motion for deferral.
Mayor.
I think we all know what we're voting on, but I appreciate you bringing that up as a point of order. So we have a motion and a second for deferral of CZ 13-2021. Any other discussion on the deferral? All in favor say aye. I'm sorry, register your vote. I apologize. I'm sorry. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 16 yeses, 2 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. So CZ 13 is deferred till July 12th. Thank you, sir. CZ 14, 2021, application of FWJR Development Partnership from M1 to C5. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Gannon, is there a second? Commissioner Riccone, any discussion? Commissioner Leverett.
Yes, Mayor. I just want to make a point to the commissioners. The applicants for this zoning case did reach out to me asking questions about how can they possibly get this approved, and my recommendation was to listen to the RPC. While I did go out and visit this space, I do agree with the RPC that maybe this is not the appropriate location, and I do hope that the commissioners that promised this organization that they would help them find another building keep their word. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A little over a month ago, I went out and met with the director of the school and another member of her staff, and we talked at length about the difficulties and the problems with the location. I believe that their program is excellent, and I would be totally in favor of them putting a school anywhere else except for this location. The conditions in the area have not changed. We have the same general area. We have the same industrial complex around it. As Mr. Tyndall stated last week, if anything, we have more industry out there than we did when the school system was attempting to put a school out there. So I would ask that we do not pass this resolution for a zoning change, and that we do all that we can to help them find a better and new location. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Any other discussion on CZ 14, 2021? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 1 yes, 17 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. CZ 14, 2021 fails. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda. All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the County Commission and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the County Commission may request that item be removed for separate consideration. 2162 is a resolution accepting the Public Improvements Program and Capital Budget 2021 through 2022 through 2025, 2026 compiled by Montgomery County and approved by the Clarksville-Montgomery County Regional Planning Commission. Resolution 26-3, resolution to amend the Sheriff's Office budget for vehicle capital and vehicle-related contracted services for fiscal year 2021. Resolution 2164, resolution to restore leave time for public safety personnel that were exempt from the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Resolution 2165, resolution amending the budget of Montgomery County Highway Department for the purchase of equipment to be used for various road construction projects and traffic control in school zones. Resolution, I'm sorry, my screen moved. Resolution 2167, resolution of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners approving amendments to the 2021 CMCSS school budget. Resolution 2168, resolution to amend the budgets of various funds for fiscal year 2021 in certain areas of revenues and expenditures. Resolution 21611, resolution authorizing the Industrial Development Board to apply for a grant from the Tennessee Valley Authority through the Invest Prep grant program, and then adoption of the commission meeting minutes dated May 10th, 2021, the county clerk's report and notary list, nominating committee nominations, and the county mayor nominations and appointments. Are there any items any commissioner would like to see removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval for the consent agenda? Commissioner Pritchard, second Commissioner Leverett. If you would, please register your vote. Commissioner Lewis and Commissioner Bryant. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Commissioners, next on our agenda are some resolutions that were not on the consent agenda. Our first one is Resolution 2161, resolution approving the vacation of a portion of Collins View Way. Commissioners, I was asked by Mr. Tyndall before I asked for a motion, I was asked by Mr. Tyndall to verify to you, if you vote yes for this, you are voting to close the road. If you vote no, you're voting to leave Collins Way open. And so I've done my duty, Mr. Tyndall, wherever you are. So is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Chandler, second Commissioner Joe Smith. Any discussion? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that this happens from time to time here in the commission, and although it is not my usual, a request was made of me. So I would ask at this time of those that are here in favor of this resolution, if you would please stand and be recognized. I invite the fellow commissioners to take a look at this group of people. Thank you. And I remind you that these people have friends and relatives that live in your district, and they have reached out to these people and they have told them to please watch and see what happens when we ask for help and who helps us. I was a recipient of a phone call this afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Parham. And he gave me some insight on something that I did not realize. But if you would go into your Dropbox and go back 1 year and look at the June formal meeting for last year, you will see that there is AB 1 2020 approving the vacation of a portion of Butts Drive. It was mentioned last week that we would be setting a precedent if we vacated this road, because we would then open the floodgates to more and more and more requests for vacations of stub roads. Well, I say that there's precedent's already been set, because that abandonment was requested and granted to Mr. Blackwell last year at this same time. I would also like to point out that the additional stub road that is in the back of Stones Manor that was mentioned last week, the area beyond that is covered over with high voltage power lines. So, I mean, I am not a builder. I am not a member of the Planning Commission, but I can tell you this, in my experience, it's highly unlikely that we're going to get a subdivision built underneath those power lines that are already there. I would just, as a last point, ask you to remember that you have people here that have brought their lives here. They have invested their money and their futures in the place where they live, and they're asking you to listen to them and not one developer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have one request. I'd like to ask Mr. Tyndall. I can't explain it as well as he did. Everybody, I've gotten these emails about the abatement from last year on this road that was done for Mr. Blackwell. I can't explain it as well as Mr. Tyndall. I can try, but I'd like to ask if he could come in and tell us a little bit about that previous abandonment.
I'm not opposed to a staff member coming and speaking to addressing something if this body's not opposed to it. I see no objection, Mr. Tyndall.
Sure. About this time last year, there was an abandonment requested on what was known as Butts Lane or Butts Drive out in, I believe it's Commission District number 7. If you've been out there on that road, that's right near Papa Rock out there off Dover Road. The road's about maybe 18 feet wide and it has about 8 homes on it. The very back end of that road has a cul-de-sac and then there's a portion of what I will call a driveway and then a paper road beyond that. That's what was abandoned at the time, was that paper road. It served one house. The owner was selling that house and the property to Mr. Blackwell for development, and the road was abandoned to cut it off at where the current cul-de-sac is and where it was at the time. So a very different situation. It was a piece of road that didn't benefit anybody, didn't benefit the county to have that paper road out there. And again, we were talking about a subdivision that was just one way, one cul-de-sac, about 7 homes. And it was the back area, a driveway that was being abandoned.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. You have anything else, Mr. Gannon?
No, sir.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Yes, I do want to remind my fellow commissioners that perceived threats are not very effective. But I do want to state that I'm not for vacating this particular piece of property, and I'll tell you why. It's not in particular that the property itself, it's just the fact that I'm ashamed that I've heard people say that they were afraid that someone of lesser income might be able to come across into their home, and I felt like that's not us. That's not Montgomery County. We don't segregate ourselves like that, and we should never think like that. And I'm hoping that anyone that feels that we should keep divisions only because there might be lower income or a different person living next to you in another subdivision, that's, to me, is just pretty shameful. So I'm really very much against vacating this property. And of course, as I said, I don't take kindly to threats. So I'm just want everybody to know this is my heart that's voting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In all respect to Commissioner Pritchard, that was not a threat, nor was it meant to be that way. It was simply a reminder to do what's right. That's all. Just a reminder to do what's right. In regards to the vacation of Butts Lane, I'm afraid that I just don't see it the same way. I don't view the reason for it to color whether it happened or not. You've either done it or you haven't. You're either in or you're out. You know, to set a precedent means to do something for the first time. It's already been done. So I really don't think that the reasoning behind it or the logic that prompted that even comes into play. Thank you.
Commissioner Woodruff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a question in reference to this road being a cul-de-sac or a continuation road into another subdivision. To my understanding, that's exactly what it is. It was planned to be extended into another subdivision. So it's difficult for me, of all of the mail traffic that I've got, it's difficult for me to abandon this road when it was already planned. And that's what I want to say about that. And I agree with Commissioner Pritchard. This is not the place for idle threats. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner Tangi Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do agree with Commissioner Pritchard and Commissioner Woodruff that did sound like a threat. However, I agree that if the builder wants to, doesn't mind abandoning it, and if the residents that live out there want to abandon it, I honestly don't see what the issue is. Then they are aware that they only have one way in and one way out, and they're okay with that. They live out there. Where I live at on Tiny Town, I got about 50 ways in and out mine, and I'm okay with that. And if that's where they want to live, then let them live how they want to live. And I'm not the one to tell them that they can't live that way. If they pay their money to live out there and that's what they want and the builder's okay, they're okay, then that's what it is.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Commissioner Beal.
I'd like to call for the question, please.
Well, we should really vote on calling for the question, but without objection, we'll cease discussion. Then the question's been called for and it's been duly seconded, so we're going to have to vote on the question to cease discussion. I'm going to give Miss Tiffany or whoever's over there, I see Tiffany, a second to type that in, and Kelly, y'all tell me when you're ready to go. Okay, we are voting to cease discussion. So if you're in favor of the cease discussion, vote yes. If not, vote no. Please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please register the vote?
You have 14 yeses, 4 noes, and 0 abstentions.
All right, no more discussion. If you would, on Resolution 2161, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 6 yeses, 11 noes, and 1 abstention.
2161 fails. Resolution 2166, resolution to ratify private chapter number 9 of the Private Acts of 1979, House Bill number 1499, Senate Bill number 1622 of the 112th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee relative to tourism and the privilege tax on the occupancy of hotels and motels in Montgomery County, Tennessee. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Lewis, second. Commissioner Pritchard, any discussion on 2166? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
All right, Resolution 2169, a resolution to levy a tax rate in Montgomery County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Garland Johnson, second. Commissioner Riccone, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote on 2169. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 17 yeses, 1 no, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 21610 is a resolution making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Montgomery County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30, 2022, and approving the funding of nonprofit charitable organizations in accordance with TCA 5-9-109. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Leverett, second. Commissioner Rasnick, any discussion? Commissioner Gannon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. On your desk, you have the amendment I would like to make for Resolution 216-10. It should be the first one in your pile. I would like to add $28,500 to the account number 01-5822-00000-58-53160, contributions for the Airport Authority for the purpose as follows: $21,500 for replacement of the terminal carpet, and $7,000 for the county's portion of grant matching funds to be used for the purpose and design and construction of obstruction removal on runway 5/23, which is $4,500, and for purposes of runway 35, surface failure repairs, which is $2,500. Providing these matching funds will allow for the Airport Authority to receive a $266,000 in grant fund towards these projects. After discussing with the City of Clarksville, it is our intention to fund these portions of these items through our budget, and I feel Montgomery County should do the same as the city.
Mr. Gannon, I know you're putting that in the form of a motion. Would you add subject to the City of Clarksville funding?
Yes, sir, that's what I meant to do when I said in there.
Okay, is there a second? Commissioner Harper, any discussion on Mr. Gannon's amendment? Commissioner Harper, do you? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. No discussion on that amendment. I've got an amendment.
Okay, just a little quick trigger. That's okay. We need to vote on this one first. Any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Gannon's amendment has been properly, the motion's been properly made and duly seconded. No discussion. If you would, please register your vote for this amendment. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
All right, just for future reference, I'm going to call this the Gannon Amendment when we go back and vote on the original motion as amended. So we have, is there a motion for approval for 21-610 as amended? Well, Commissioner Albert, second. Commissioner Keene, any discussion? Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make an amendment to Resolution 21-6-10. It would be to amend the budget to add one additional building inspector position for the Building and Codes Department that was cut by the Budget Committee. Cost for this will be $112,680.41 before the cost of living adjustment approximately. Additionally, I had mentioned last week about adding $750,000 to the budget for design services. That's merely to heighten your awareness of that. I'm not making that in the amendment.
Is there a second to Commissioner Harper's, Commissioner Beal? Any discussion on it? Commissioner Gannon.
Yes, sir. I just want to make mention, the Budget Committee went over everything pretty much with a fine-tooth comb, and we put in things that we thought we needed and where we had the money and pondered over them quite a bit. This was one of the few that I was kind of, and I think the Budget Committee was kind of iffy on, if you will. I can see a need for that position, so I'm okay with it. So I'd like for everybody to support that amendment.
Commissioner Leverett.
I was just going to basically say what Commissioner Gannon said.
He beat you to the button. All right, so we have a motion and a second to amend the budget to add a building inspector position. Any other discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So again, we'll go back to Resolution 21-610 as amended. We will call that last amendment the Harper Amendment. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riccone. Second, Commissioner Albert. Any discussion? Commissioner Beal.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to propose that we cut the new employee request for the IDB Director of Talent for the amount of $84,062.75.
Is there a second? Commissioner Bryant. Any discussion? Commissioner Gannon.
Yes, sir. As speaking before, the Budget Committee went over everything, and we definitely kept the new employees in there that we thought were very necessary. And I'm just perplexed at looking at these possible amendments because all three of these employees, and the Budget Committee, I think, will back me up, are all necessary. The talent director for IDB was necessary, and the facilities and the IT security. I won't talk to those because it hadn't come up yet, but I would encourage everybody to vote against this and not to cut that request because that position is dearly needed. They actually wanted 2 employees, but we come down to the one of which that we thought was the most important that would make a benefit. This is an impact position that will tremendously help Clarksville, Montgomery County, and the businesses here. It coordinates everybody together, the people that are looking to get employed, Fort Campbell, corporations employing them. It's an absolutely great position, and I encourage everyone to leave it in the budget and not to cut it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Beal.
I would like to ask the previous speaker, what is the necessity for this position? Because if the IEDB's been doing such a great job up to this point, why do we need it now?
The position's been there. The position was there. It was partially funded by a grant, and the grant ran out. And the IDB funded the other half. And so without the grant, they've asked Montgomery County to fund the full position.
However, this is still a new employee request.
You could probably say it could be a new employee request. There was an employee that is currently, that was employed, and if it's not funded, that person's not going to have a job.
If we don't need it, we don't need it.
Well, I spoke to this at the budget hearings, and quite frankly, I was a little bit hesitant about it, but I've seen the results of what this position has done. I think everybody, if you talk to any business owner today, everybody's having trouble getting people to come back to work, and this position has been instrumental in working with local industries and local businesses to help put people in the workplace. So any other discussion on the amendment to cut the employee request for IDB Director of Talent? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 2 yeses, 16 noes, 0 abstentions.
All right, I think for procedural purposes, we have to go back to 21-610 as amended. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riccone, is there a second? Commissioner Albert, any discussion? Commissioner Beal.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to propose that we cut the new employee request for Facilities Maintenance Tech 1 in the amount of $61,832.71.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Seeing no seconds, that amendment fails for a lack of a proper second. We still have that motion for approval of 21-610 as amended on the floor. Any other discussion? Commissioner Beal.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to propose that we cut the new employee request for the IT security CCTV technician position, the amount of $85,850.05.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second? Seeing no second, that amendment fails for lack of a second. So we're back to 21-610 as amended. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Riccone. Any other discussion? Commissioner Gannon. So commissioners, just so before I call on you to vote, we are voting on what I termed or coined the Gannon Amendment regarding the additional funding for the Airport Authority contingent upon the City of Clarksville funding it, and the amendment coined the Harper Amendment for one additional building inspector position at the Building and Codes Department. We have a motion and a second to approve 2610 as amended. If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 17 yeses, 1 no, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, before we go to the next one, I've said this, I know 2 or 3 times, but I just want to say to the Budget Committee and to the staff for the work that each and every one of you put in on putting this budget together. I just thank you for all your hard work and your dedication. Commissioner Bill, do you have a comment?
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to kind of piggyback what you said. I had the opportunity to attend every budget committee hearing and meeting, and I think they did an excellent job. I wish they would have cut a little bit more, but overall, good job. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Resolution 21-612, a resolution to approve funding for the budget for the Multipurpose Event Center. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Leverett, second. Commissioner Aubert, any discussion? Commissioner Leverett.
Yes, I just want to let the commission know that the funding for this is for employees. It's just to cover the first year until they start making money. I don't want anyone to think that we're adding an additional money or that we're the taxpayers on the hook for anything. This is just to fund the employees so that we can get them working for this year.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other discussion on 21-612? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 17 yeses, 1 no, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, without objection, I would like to suspend the rules to hear 21-613. No, sir, I don't think so. I thought you were objecting. Oh, okay. All right. We see no objections, so we will now hear 21-613. It's a resolution amending the budget of the Montgomery County Animal Care and Control for the replacement of 2 HVAC units. Commissioners, I apologize for and thank you for allowing us to suspend the rules. We've been beating these HVAC units up for quite some time. We just keep putting money into them, and it's time to replace them. I do commend Mr. Caskey and Mr. Gentry with animal control and with facilities maintenance for doing all they could to keep these units working. But we are at a point now, we have a temporary air conditioner in there, and this is a much needed item. So I'll entertain a motion for approval for 21-613. Commissioner Rasnick, second. Commissioner Harper, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
Yes, 18 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstentions.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, at this time, we will have our election process for District 6 Commissioner seat. It's unfortunate that we're having to deal with this. I think all of us truly miss Commissioner Hodges and his wisdom. And we just continue to pray for his family for comfort. In order for a name to be considered, a member of the county legislative body must subsequently nominate that person or persons. Nominations do not require a second, and all nominations shall be required to accept their nomination before being considered. We do, in our rules, allow anyone that would like to show up at the meeting tonight to put their name in the hat. Prior to the meeting, we did not have anyone sign up, and so we do have a list of potential candidates. And I'd like to read that list of applicants, and they are listed in the order that we received them. Clayton M. Rudder, Michael L. Langford, Devin Daly, Randy Albert, and Jerry Wayman. Commissioners, after nominations cease, the county legislative body may discuss these nominations, and the nominees will have an opportunity to address the county legislative body for a maximum of 5 minutes with no questions being allowed. I will now open the floor for applicants for the District 6 vacant seat. If y'all want to hear this list of 5, somebody's got to nominate them. Commissioner Keene, would you like to make a nomination? If you would, please turn your mic, or get somebody to turn your mic on.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to nominate all 5 candidates at this time.
Second.
No second is needed, so you're nominating Mr. Clayton M. Rutter, Mr. Michael L. Langford, Devin Daly, Randy Albert, and Jerry Wayman. Is that correct? All right. Any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I will now call on Ms. Jackson just to kind of go over the voting process. Ms. Jackson?
Do you want me to come before they speak or let them go ahead and speak first?
Whichever way you want to do it.
Doesn't matter. Normally they speak first and then I can
Okay,
read the rules. but that's
that'll
up to
be
you.
fine. We'll let the candidates speak. So again, to the candidates, each of you, thank you for putting your name in the hat. I wish you all well. We're going to ask you one at a time to come forward to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes to address the commission. Again, no questions will be allowed for the commissioners. So at this time, we'll call Mr. Clayton M. Rutter. Mr. Rutter, good evening.
Yeah, you had the time. I meant to tell you that, I forgot.
Good evening. Once again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, my fellow citizens of Montgomery County. I want to start with condolences that's already been offered to the family, to the friends, to the colleagues of Commissioner Hodges. It's a sad reason that we're here tonight, but this county must move forward. We have 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a very, very tight window. It's very tight constraints. With your permission, I would like to go ahead and proceed. Not knowing Commissioner Hodges on a personal level, we met several times coming in and out of the historic courthouse. I don't have that working relationship. I don't have the stories. I would like to sit here and eloquently speak to you and tell you of jokes and of working together. And I was watching the video of Attorney Eric Yao when he was addressing you about the vacated seat of Judge Raymond Grimes, and I fail you here because I don't have those stories, and I apologize. I did a little research about him, and I found out that he was a forestry technician, and that struck me a little bit odd. That's something you don't hear every day, and I researched it, and I would like to circle back to that, if I may, here in a few moments. I would like to tell you, I think that life is about perspective and about being humble. I feel that we should be humble in victory. We should feel humbled when we are defeated. We should be humble in our passions. We should be humble in our love. We should be humble when we serve others. We should be humble in our opinions when we do agree with one another, and humble when we don't. I feel if you haven't been humbled, then truly you haven't lived. I'd like to talk about perspective of Montgomery County. When I first moved here, I was told that Montgomery County in Clarksville is the biggest small city or the smallest big city that you will ever live in. And boy, is that true. That is absolutely true. Montgomery County is very diverse, but are we truly inclusive? And this is my main point. Are we inclusive in our hearts, our thought process, our planning? Have we moved that needle forward? Is there room to continue to push it? My wife and I were both adopted. I feel that we were very lucky because we were chosen. She was adopted from Korea. I was adopted by my family in Knoxville, Tennessee. My father used to always tell me as a child, he said, Clayton, he said, you're special, son, because you're chosen. When I came here in October of 1991, I ETS from the military, and I chose Montgomery County as my home. I adopted Montgomery County as my home because it's special to me. Montgomery County is very diverse, and it's even more so diverse now. The skyrocketing people that we have moving here. And the question that I ask you is, are we accepting them? Are we inclusive to the people who choose to stay here? The people that choose to move here and call this home? Over the past couple weeks, I've had the privilege of speaking with about 16 commissioners, all of you with very busy schedules. Some I could not get a hold of, or I missed a phone call and couldn't get a hold of. Everybody was very supportive. Everybody was very friendly, offering words of encouragement. But the one thing that I took away was from Commissioner Pritchard. She told me, because she brought up the topic of diversity, and I will quote, she said, "We must have a representation of everyone, and that is inclusion." She's absolutely right. It takes everybody. The diversity in my personal life, I garnered through my marriage to my wife, Melissa, through my 4 children, a world through their eyes and how they see things. Throughout my life here, I've lived in Woodlawn, Kenwood, Southern Hills, and now Palmyra, and they are all vastly different. I have 4 children. 2 have graduated from Kenwood High School, 1 from Clarksville High School, and 1 from Montgomery Central High School. And you want to talk about perspective, those are very different schools. Again, it's about perspective. We normally receive a daily email from our mayor, wishing good thoughts, sometimes with a joke, with statements, but he sent one a couple months ago that resonated with me. And it said that the same boiling water that hardens the egg also softens the potato. And that is perspective. In my life, I have been both the potato and the egg, Mayor. I know what it feels like to be boiled in that water. I'm currently a corporal with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. My wife is a school teacher with a school system. We are vested in our county careers, in our county, and we are vested where we live in Palmyra. Diversity is here, but now we need to make it inclusive. I will close by saying that I'm a very happy place in my life. I want to thank the commission for hearing me, and I want to close with saying, as far as inclusion and diversity, I will refer back to Arnold Hodges. When he managed that forest, he knew it had to be diverse. A forest can't survive on the same type of tree. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rutter. Michael L. Langford. Mr. Langford, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Michael Langford, and I'm one of the applicants that applied for the District 6 vacancy tonight. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity that I have to speak before you. I'd also like to thank the mayor, chief of staff, other department heads, and elected officials that are present. I'd also like to take just a moment to thank the other applicants that applied for this position. It excites me to see that there's a good group of people that are willing to stand up and lead in their communities. And I thank you for that, and I appreciate that. And I wish each of you the best tonight. I was born and raised in Montgomery County. I went to school here, I went to college here, and I went to work here shortly after graduating. First as an extension agent with the UT Extension Office on Cumberland Heights Road, and most recently in the financial services industry, particularly serving farmers and rural landowners. Something I've really enjoyed about both of these positions is the unique opportunity that I've had to meet with individuals across the county, to learn what's important to them, what's important to their families, where they want to see their communities go, and how they want to see it grow. Montgomery County is experiencing a time of exponential growth. We're ranked number 5 in the state for growth. We've added close to 40,000 people just in the past 10 years. And as we approach, the way that we approach growth only gains in importance. Being in the financial services industry, I place a lot of importance on not only being fiscally responsible, but having an overall general mindset of responsibility. I look at things with a business mindset, and when I look at the commission, I don't see it any differently. Are we providing that product, that good, that service for everyone in the community? Are we allocating our resources in the best way possible? Is there room for improvement? And if so, where are they at and how do we achieve that? When I look at the commission, I see a group of individuals, each one selected to serve their communities respectively. But I also see a team of one that is tasked with coming together to work for the betterment of the whole county. I know I don't have the same views as everyone on the floor tonight, and you don't have the same views that I do, but I think that's important. Because when you have a group of individuals with different views and different opinions, that's what sparks discussion and that's what sparks debate. and that's how we move forward and progress. Those two things are an integral part of a healthy and effective government. What I've spoken on tonight is how I would approach my duties as commissioner if selected here tonight, working to be a voice for my community and promising to engage with each one of you for the betterment of every community in Montgomery County. I thank you for your time and consideration tonight. I thank you for everything you do for the county on a daily basis, and I would appreciate your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Langford. Mr. Devin Daly. Good evening.
Good evening. First off, I want to say thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commission Body, for having me. It's an honor to be here and have a moment to be able to speak to you. Like Mr. Rutter said, you get 5 minutes. 5 minutes doesn't give you a lot to really learn who I am. So I really wanted to take this first 5 minutes to tell you about myself more than anything. My name is Devin Daly. I'm a resident of Cunningham and thus a part of District 6 as far as the County Commission goes. My wife Laura and I have been married for just about 9 years. We have two amazing boys, Jackson, who's 5 and will be starting at Montgomery Central Elementary this fall. Ezra is 2. He's my wild one. I don't know if any of you have any wild ones, but if you don't, I'll let you borrow him for a little while. We chose Montgomery Central area. We chose the Cunningham, Palmyra area because it felt like home. It's in proximity to family of mine, but I'm born and raised originally from Stewart County. I moved and have been around Clarksville for over 32 years, and I have called Clarksville, Montgomery County, my primary residence for over 7 years. I know life around here. I know the change that was. I remember Wilma Rudolph Boulevard before it was Wilma Rudolph Boulevard and what it is. I avoid it just like you do on Friday afternoons. You know, after having the kids, it's funny. I'm sure many of you are parents in here, and you can look at it and say, having kids changes you. Changes your perspective more than anything. Lets you realize that there's life beyond your life. Lets you realize that there's more than what you leave behind. Those legacy things become important. And as I've always paid attention to politics, for the most part, I've just been caught up in my own life, with my wife, building our own dreams, pursuing our own ambitions. But as my boys were born, I realized that that way of life began to shift. I began to understand a new importance for the role that you ladies and gentlemen before me play. When I was younger, I would have probably looked at politics for the most part, and I would have shaped my view of politics probably more from Hollywood and media outlets and how they perceived things. But as I got older, I realized that sometimes that division and strife is what you need. As Mr. Langford said, it inspires debate, and debate is what gets you from point A to point B. Debate allows you to see both sides and realize that your views aren't always the right views. Your preferred way is not always the right way. And I recognize that about myself, and that's why I love the debate part of it. I love that it allows me to be able to see a side that perhaps I wasn't open to seeing. As I begin to realize the gravity of the seats that each of you hold right now, I realize the need for representatives such as yourself. And I realize that the future is planned by representatives such as yourself. And the choice to sit back and do nothing is a choice in and of itself. The gentlemen that are all here from my district likely share a similar love for the area that we call home, an area that we may hold different beliefs in how its future should unfold, but an area that we felt safe and comfortable to raise our family, to plant our roots, and dig in. We all know that change is inevitable, and change, for the most part, is a good thing. I would encourage change. Change brings about so many positives, and I would argue that it brings about more positives than negatives, even though some people despise change. They like the comfortability. It is in the realizing that with change, you have to have some core values, and you got to fight for those core values. And in the community of Cunningham and the area that encompasses District 6, we have some core values. We have some things that we hold dear, things that are the reason as to why we come to that area. And as I stand here before you today, I can say as well that I did not know the late Mr. Hodges personally. I've heard stories from him. I've inquired about him as I began to ponder, pray, decide if this is what the Lord would have me do, to throw my hat in the ring. And as I did, I realized that it's a choice. It's a choice to run for public office. It's a choice to sit in these chambers. And it's a choice to realize that somebody has to be a voice for everybody else. What I can do to you today is I can make two promises. The two promises are, number one, I'm going to be an advocate for those who live in the community and chose the community that I chose and share similar core values. The values that Mr. Hodges was willing to stand for those who I want to affectionately refer to as on the right side of the river. I have family scattered throughout this entire county, through many of your districts, 4, 7, 10, 20, to name a few. I'm a local business owner. I've worked in all of the other districts, primarily, I would venture to say, in one capacity or the other. I'm not up here pretending to be perfect. I imagine many of the individuals who threw their hat in the ring today would represent our district well, and they would fill the post with integrity and have the best of intentions. But only one of us has chosen to fulfill the remainder of Mr. Hodges' term, and I would be honored if you chose to see that I could be fit to fill that position. I appreciate the consideration, and I look forward, regardless of the outcome, to have an opportunity to get to know each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Mr. Randy Albert. Good evening.
Well, I'm just a country boy. I can't speak that well. But I did know Mr. Hodges. He was a good friend of mine. Many times he would stop in my yard and talk about what was coming up, what he thought and what he thought we should do. And he asked my thought. We had many discussions. I'm Randy Albert. My wife, Vicki, and I have been married 43 years come Friday, the 18th. I come from a business family, her family. They adopted me into their family about 45 years ago. They took me in. I've been part of that business for 35 years. We have had apartments on the north side of town, St. Bethlehem. We have skating rinks on the north side of town. Rainbow, for many of you know Rainbow, that was my father-in-law's, and I was a part of that. We've built many houses in Montgomery County. Also now we own Eastland Green Golf Course, and we also have one in Springfield, Pebblebrook. So I've been involved in business, and I consider this a business here. I've lived on the south side of the river, is what we called it when I was growing up, for over 50 years. I've lived in the Cunningham area for 43 years. I raise cattle. So I know what we need. I'm honored to be here before you to ask for your vote tonight. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. Probably won't agree with everyone, but we need to disagree to agree, and we need to move on. We need to be united for this county, not only for our community, for the whole county. That's what we're striving for. I'm willing to learn. I have a lot to learn. And I would appreciate your vote, and I'm not going to go on and promise anything, but I'm going to try my best to help this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert, and happy anniversary. Mr. Jerry Wayman. Good evening.
Thank you. Commissioners, thank you. I have been a resident of Montgomery County since 1969. I have owned property on Skelton Road since 1973. That's where I live now with my wife of 50 years. I have been in the military. I retired. I was a medic and a psychological specialist. I served as a medic so I could treat people and help them. After the military, I went to the Leaf Chronicle, where I was account executive. I worked with a lot of businesses in Clarksville and Montgomery County. I left the Leaf Chronicle and went to Cochran Advertising. I know a lot of you know about him, but I started a infomercial called Clarksville's Best Buys. I was the producer and the gopher. We had to get residents and businesses to come on the program. And some were successful. During a 7-year span, I worked with the Red Cross disaster outfit. For 3 years, I was the only disaster person. I had to go to all the house fires in Clarksville, Montgomery County, and advise them and help them with their needs. Afterwards, I became Director of Financial Development with the Red Cross. And it was successful. But still, we just couldn't get the money that was needed to keep it going. I see now they look like they're successful. And all I want to do is help my community. I am very experienced with budgeting, and I would like to say thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wayman. All right, Commissioners. Again, I want to thank Mr. Rudder, Mr. Langford, Mr. Daly, Mr. Albert, Mr. Wayman, each and every one of you for putting your name in the hat. I think it takes a very special individual to serve. And so I just thank each of you for your willingness to serve, and I wish each of you the best of luck. At this time, I'm going to ask our county clerk, Ms. Kelly Jackson, if you'll go over the voting process, Ms. Jackson.
Good evening. So the voting process will be conducted as we have in the past. I, Kelly Jackson, Montgomery County Clerk, am charged with distributing the ballots, collecting the ballots, et cetera. You have those on your desk, and hopefully they are correct. If you will please make sure that the district number and your name is correct on the packet of ballots that you have at your desk. The mayor will ask if anyone wants to change your ballot change your vote after you have circled the name on the ballot. At that point, we will ask you to pass them to the middle. If you will, please keep the lowest number in your row on top. That will make it easier when we collect them and organize them. We will then have to openly chart them. The first round must have a majority of votes. Any candidate is eligible to withdraw at any time. So 11 votes is still the majority of this body, even though we are a body of 20 at the moment. Any questions on any of that? If we get to further rounds on round 2 and round 3, any candidate that receives 0 votes will be automatically eliminated for the next round of votes. If we go past that, I will give you more information at that time.
Any questions of Ms. Jackson? All right, Ms. Jackson, do you want to start the process then?
Yes, please. If you will, mark your ballot and pass them to the center aisle. Please do not fold them if you don't have to. It makes it easier for us.
Anybody want to change their vote? Has everybody passed their ballots to the middle?
I don't know if you can flip them. I think that's what we were going to do last time. Commissioner Gannon votes for Daly. Commissioner Keene votes for Langford. Commissioner Smith votes for, Commissioner Joe Smith votes for Daly. Commissioner Ray votes for Albert. Commissioner Leverett votes for Rudder. Commissioner Tangi Smith votes for Langford. Sorry, this is very small print. I'm having to squint to see it. Commissioner Chandler votes for Langford. Commissioner Albert votes for Lewis. Commissioner Lewis votes for Albert. We have a Commissioner Albert, but it's a different spelling. Commissioner Creek votes for Rudder. Commissioner Woodruff votes for Albert.
You skip Commissioner Pritchard.
Hold on just a second. Had two stuck together, excuse me. Commissioner Pritchard votes for Rudder. Commissioner Woodruff votes for Albert. Commissioner Beal votes for Daly. Commissioner Harper votes for Langford. Commissioner Bryant votes for Albert. Commissioner Rasnick votes for Albert. Commissioner Knight votes for Daly. Commissioner Johnson votes for Rudder. Commissioner Albert votes for Albert.
Ms. Jackson, I think Mr. Johnson's vote is improperly marked. You called for Rudder, it's marked for Albert.
You're correct, excuse me. That's why it's openly charted, right? All right. Commissioner Albert votes for Albert, and Commissioner Riccone votes for Albert.
Would you please tally the votes, Ms. Jackson?
Nominee Albert has 7 votes. Nominee Daly has 4. Nominee Langford has 4. And nominee Rudder has 4. Nominee Wayman has 0.
Thank you, ma'am. So we go to our second round
Yes, sir.
with all candidates still on the ballot.
Yes, sir.
So if you would, please register your vote for round 2. Pass them to the center aisle. Would anyone like to change their vote?
So the second round of voting, Commissioner Gannon votes for Daly. Commissioner Keene votes for Langford. Commissioner Smith votes for Daly. Commissioner Ray votes for Albert. Commissioner Leverett votes for Rudder. Commissioner Tangi Smith votes for Langford. Commissioner Chandler votes for Langford. Commissioner Lewis votes for Albert. Commissioner Creek votes for Rudder. Commissioner Pritchard votes for Rudder. Commissioner Woodruff votes for Albert. Commissioner Beal votes for Daly. Commissioner Harper votes for Langford. Commissioner Bryant votes for Albert. Commissioner Rasnick votes for Albert. Commissioner Knight votes for Daly. Commissioner Johnson votes for Rudder. Commissioner Albert votes for Albert. Commissioner Riccone votes for Albert.
Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the votes?
Nominee Albert has 7 votes. Daly has 4. Langford has 4. Rudder has 4. Wyman has 0. In this next round of voting, any candidate that has 0 will have to be eliminated.
So commissioners, if you would, round 3, please register your vote. Commissioner Harper.
Be eliminated.
I think the rule is any nominee receiving 0 votes in these rounds will be eliminated from the process, these rounds being the second and third rounds. So I do agree that Mr. Warren is eliminated. Does anyone want to change their vote? If you would, please pass your votes to the center aisle.
Commissioner Gannon votes for Daly. Whoops, excuse me. Commissioner Keene votes for Langford. Commissioner Joe Smith votes for Daly. Commissioner Ray votes for Albert. Commissioner Leverett votes for Rudder. Commissioner Tangi Smith votes for Langford. Commissioner Chandler votes for Langford. Commissioner Lewis votes for Albert. Commissioner Creek votes for Rudder. Commissioner Pritchard votes for Rudder. Commissioner Woodruff votes for Albert. Commissioner Beal votes for Daly. Commissioner Harper votes for Langford. Commissioner Bryant votes for Albert. Commissioner Rasnick votes for Albert. Commissioner Knight votes for Daly. Commissioner Johnson votes for Rudder. Commissioner Albert votes for Albert. Commissioner Riccone votes for Albert.
Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the votes?
Nominee Albert has 7 votes. Daly has 4. Langford has 4. Rudder has 4.
All right, do you want to read the rule as we move into round 4?
Yes, sir. The top 3 nominees only will remain. All others will be eliminated from this process. If a tie on who remains as the top 3 occurs, the presiding officer shall break the tie to decide the nominee.
If you would, please register your vote.
Mayor, we can only have 3 nominees on this round.
Huh?
We can only have 3 nominees on this round, so there were 3 candidates that had a tie of 4.
Okay.
I'm here.
So I guess I have to break 2 ties?
You do. I'm here. You do.
So I vote twice?
You do.
Okay. I want to vote for Mr. Daly and Mr. Langford. So, Ms. Jackson, I'm presuming now the three candidates are Mr. Albert, Mr. Daly, and Mr. Langford?
Yes, sir.
Okay, commissioners, you have your ballots, Commissioner Albert, Commissioner Daly, and Commissioner Langford. If you would, please register your votes.
All right. Order and Wayman are out. That's.
Anyone want to change their vote? If you would, please pass your ballots to the center aisle.
Commissioner Gannon votes for Daly. Commissioner King votes for Langford. Commissioner Joe Smith votes for Daly. Commissioner Ray votes for Albert. Commissioner Leverett votes for Albert. Commissioner Tangi Smith votes for Langford. Commissioner Chandler votes for Langford. Commissioner Lewis votes for Albert. Commissioner Creek votes for Daly. Commissioner Pritchard votes for Daly. Do you agree with that one? Look at that one. Commissioner Woodruff votes for Albert. Commissioner Beal votes for Daly. Commissioner Harper votes for Langford. Commissioner Bryant votes for Albert. Commissioner Rasnick votes for Albert. Commissioner Knight votes for Daly. Commissioner Johnson votes for Albert. Commissioner Albert votes for Albert. Commissioner Riccone votes for Albert.
Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the votes?
Nominee Albert has 9 votes, Daly has 6, and Langford has 4. And on this next round of voting, only the top 2 nominees shall be considered for this vote.
So on your ballot this time, commissioners, will be Mr. Albert and Mr. Daly. If you would, please register your vote or mark your vote. If you'd like to change your vote, please do so. And please pass your ballots to the center aisle.
Commissioner Gannon votes for, I'm sorry, Albert, just make sure. I'm sorry, Daly. Excuse me. Flipped it over too quick. Commissioner Keene votes for Daly. Commissioner Joe Smith votes for Daly. Commissioner Ray votes for Albert. Commissioner Leverett votes for Albert. Commissioner Tangi Smith votes for Albert. Commissioner Chandler votes for Daly. Commissioner Lewis votes for Albert. Commissioner Creek votes for Albert. Commissioner Pritchard votes for Albert. Commissioner Woodruff votes for Albert. Commissioner Beal votes for Daly. Commissioner Harper votes for Albert. Commissioner Bryant votes for Albert. Commissioner Rasnick votes for Albert. Commissioner Knight votes for Daly. Commissioner Johnson votes for Albert. Commissioner Albert votes for Albert. Commissioner Riccone votes for Albert. Mayor, you have a majority with nominee Albert receiving 13 votes.
Congratulations, Mr. Albert. And again, to Mr. Daly, Mr. Langford, and Mr. Rudder, and Mr. Wayman, thanks to each and every one of you for considering this position, and I wish you all the success in the future.
I gotta find my agenda. Yeah, I got it. I just stuck it up. It's right here. I just don't want to make sure I don't get the informal.
To Ms. Jackson, Ms. Byard, Ms. Cottrell, thank you, ladies, for a very professional job. Well done. Commissioners, you'll see under, we have no unfinished business. You'll see on your reports filed, 2 that were added from last week. Just 3 quick announcements, beginning with the July informal meeting. The County Commission will return to hearing verbal updates from the Airport Liaison Committee, School Liaison, and the new Highway Liaison Committee. And reminder that the July informal commission meeting will be on Tuesday, July the 6th, due to the holiday. And lastly, a reminder that this Friday, all county employees will be off for our new holiday, Juneteenth. And remind the commissioners of 2 celebrations that will take place this Saturday, one at Wilma Rudolph Event Center and one at the Downtown Commons. Commissioners, thank you for your service. I'll call on Chief Deputy John Smith to adjourn us.
All rise. Oh, yes, this Honorable Board of County Commissioners now stands adjourned. May God save his state and its Honorable Board of County Commissioners.